Joining us right now, a National Review editor, Rich Lowry. Rich, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
And we know that there's a list of companies that are trying to get on board with the president's narrative. The president has already negotiated with companies to manufacture in America. Do you think this reaching out to individual companies is going to continue? Is this going to be the norm?
Yes.
What are your expectations?
Yeah, there's going to be a carrot and stick approach going forward. The stick has a lot to do with his Twitter feed, and if you're a company and you show up on it, that's the stick. And the carrot is going to be the big tax and regulatory changes we'll see over the next year.
So what are you expecting in terms of the agenda? We've got the first 100 days in focus. We know that immigration and trade are going to be important topics today and this week in terms of executive orders. What else?
Well, the priority on the Hill will be repealing Obamacare, and there's still tension over the strategy, how to do that between Congress and President Trump. And then the focus in the executive branch will be trade and immigration, which are core issues for President Trump. You guys were talking earlier with Buck Sexton how some of these nominees are at tension with President Trump's policies, but not on trade. Every single person has major responsibility for trade, is hardcore and 100% with Trump on it. So that will be a really important priority for them.
But it looks like he's taking a carrot and stick approach on trade as well. You know, we had Ross up on the Hill last week suggesting, Wilbur Ross suggesting that they didn't want to do across-the-board tariffs, that they want to do more of a piece-by-piece approach on trade. What do you think is going to happen on that front?
Well, on NAFTA, they want to renegotiate it. It seems like there's going to be a focus on autos and getting more of a North American content to cars in order to be freely traded within North America. The big wild card is China and how far they want to go there. You can go very specific and say, just if you steal our IP and you're a Chinese company, you're not going to sell here, or you can do something broader. And I thought one of my takeaways from the inaugural address was he was pretty explicit on trade. He didn't use the word protectionism, but he used the word protection and says it's going to be good for us and be good for our economy. And again, I just think that shows how committed he is to his views on that issue.
Yeah, it's true. House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy said that Obamacare will also be the priority in the first 100 days. You mentioned that that's really what the priority is on the Hill. I don't know. How easy is it going to be to agree on a replacement?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And
so how long will this be stretched out, you think?
We don't know. Mitch McConnell wants to go quickly, and he wants to go quickly by picking up the version of repeal they did last year, which is really a partial repeal. It gets at all the fiscal elements of it, the taxes and the spending, but leaves the heart of it in place, which is the regulation, because they have to do it through this so-called budget reconciliation process, so you don't need 60 votes, you just need 50, and you can only do that with fiscal things. Trump has repeatedly said, I want repeal and replace together, and I don't want people to lose their insurance. And you've had people on Capitol Hill now sounding in a similar note, because they don't want space between themselves and Trump, but the strategy is the same. Partial repeal, and then we'll deal with replacing later.
Susan Collins is coming out with a bill, I think, today, where they're talking about giving more discretion to individual states to deal with the replace part. What do you think is going to come of that? She's an important player here because she's a moderate, and Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell are going to need her vote on whatever happens.
Yeah, you've had about 5 or 6 senators, and she's one of them, saying we need replace to be happen at the same time as repeal. The question is, if you actually have a repeal bill on the floor that doesn't have replace in it, are they actually going to vote against it? I mean, that'd be an enormous step, and congressional leaders think the answer is no, that'll eventually come on board. And what we'll probably see is a partial partial repeal really quickly, and then a little piecemeal replace. Some of it through executive action, some of it through legislation like Collins's.
And that would include getting rid of the penalty if you don't go out and buy insurance?
Well, that's a big question. That is part of the repeal bill.
Right.
The thing is, if you do that right away, the Congressional Budget Office says, oh, 18 million people are going to lose their insurance, which, whether that's true or not, is debatable, but it creates bad headlines, and it gives the Democrats a talking point they'll throw at you forever.
Okay, so, Rich, I have a question. So, looking forward to 2018, right, in the midterm elections, if you start this repeal and replace, right, and let's say there's going to be some intermittent pain, right, no matter what happens, even if the long-term solution is going to be better, right? You're still going to see a lot of people maybe lose their insurance or have to change to something different. Insurance companies are going to have a struggle, finding out how to adjust. How does that affect the 2018 midterms? Because Democrats are going to be able to spin that and see whatever pain you're feeling now, that's because of Republicans. Right. So how is the GOP trying to finagle that and make sure that they're safe for 2018, but they do get this replace bill through.
Well, again, this is a big question, and the Republicans benefited in the Obamacare debate, not just because people didn't like the big government solution. It's also just people are used to the status quo, and once you're the party that's disturbing the status quo, anything that goes wrong with your health care or your insurance, you blame those guys.
Yeah.
And now Republicans are in that situation. They're the ones disturbing the status quo, and they kind of own the system, and anything people don't like about it, they'll be blamed for. At least that's the worry.
This is why he's got to move fast on his agenda. You know, 2018 is not very far away.
Right.
Most of what Obama got done, he got done in his first 2 years in office. If he doesn't hit the... And he's got a lot on his plate with health care reform, with tax reform, with all of these trade and immigration issues. He's taking on a lot. If he doesn't get it done in the first couple of years.
Yeah, and the usual dynamic, every single day that passes, you lose political capital and lose momentum. So going back to Obamacare, again, this is why on Capitol Hill, they're like, we can't figure out replace right now. While we can, let's do as much repeal as possible now. Because if you wait, maybe you end up never doing it, because events happen and intervene, and you lose momentum.
Yeah, and they've got the momentum now. Meanwhile, yesterday, there was a swearing-in ceremony at the White House. 30 of the president's staff members were officially sworn in. That includes his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, Steve Bannon, Kellyanne Conway. What do you think about these picks making the policy goals a reality? Rich Lowry.
Well, Kellyanne is just hugely impressive and was a huge part of this election victory, and I think you should rely on her more. And I think it's been a mistake for him not to let his surrogates fight with John Lewis. Let his surrogates litigate crowd size, and let Kellyanne do it. No one else is better at it than she is. And you're President of the United States now. Elevate, focus on the important things on the substance.
Well, I think this is a really important point, and in fact, there's a good op-ed in the Journal this morning about Trump at the CIA, and it's critical, basically saying it wasn't his best performance, and there's a certain decorum that comes with the presidency that Americans now expect, which is different than that of the campaign.
Right, and he had his numbers right after the election. They bumped up, and now they've kind of come back down. And I think it's because we've had 3 months during the transition of these kind of ticky-tacky fights. They doesn't have to litigate himself, but you know, as he always says, he's a counterpuncher. If he feels though you're slighting him, you're trying to delegitimize him, he's going to punch back twice as hard. But my point would be just let Kellyanne and others do some more of that punching.
Yeah, do the dirty work, which is a good analysis. Thanks so much.
Thank you.